up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. Steve and Will here to go over some start, sit, and some trade questions for everyone for week 9. Will, how you doing?
Steve, doing okay over here. Got a lot going on in the world and just had a little bit of a pipe leak here in my own smaller world. So dealing with that, but hopefully we can take everyone's mind off of everything else that's going on right now and get everyone ready for week 9 of the NFL.
Yeah, funny. We both got some plumbing issues popping up at the same time.
Yeah.
Yours definitely sounding somewhat more serious than mine, but yeah, leak problems all the same.
Problems all the same. So luckily I'm a renter right now. So, you know, while I have to deal with it in the house, don't necessarily have to pay for the fix while you are on the other side.
Yeah, I'm more on the side of one thing after another.
Yeah,
but
never ends.
Yeah, I feel like I've ticked all the boxes. So hopefully there will be no more. We'll see. Knock on wood. But plumbing issues aside, got week 9 coming up. Just had the Stafford news of him going on the COVID list. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. From what I hear, they can backdate it so that he technically could come off Sunday morning and play. So if you have Stafford, definitely add, you know, if you have room, obviously add the player that you would play instead of him. If you don't have extra room, you may have to see if there's somebody you would, you know, be okay playing over him and use him as your cut. I don't think he's, you know, necessarily a must roster the way he's been playing this year. So we'll go through, I'm sure, a couple of other quarterback options in our start sits here, but definitely something to consider that he has a chance to play Sunday, but it's looking unlikely.
Yeah, and we almost had an opportunity open up for us, Will. While you were talking, I pulled it up in our first Dynasty League.
Oh, yeah?
The Stafford owner has Stafford, Andy Dalton, and then Matt Ryan. So I remembered, I was like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on," because I'm pretty sure he was owned by a team that wasn't like super comfortable at quarterback, and that's why he added him. And yeah, if Matty Ice was on a bye or something, we'd have a little ammo to go get ourselves a pick.
Might have been in shape there. I'll have to take a look in some of our other Dynasty leagues to see how it's shaping up.
Yeah, see if we can take advantage of that. I'm also realizing this team has 5 tight ends: Evan Ingram, Dallas Goedert, Hayden Hurst, Greg Olsen, and Robert Tonyan.
Huh. Some young ones there too, so they're in good shape at tight end.
Yeah, for sure. But that kind of stuff aside, you ready to jump into the start set?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So we had to modify our first question. We had it Stafford at Minnesota versus Breeze at Tampa Bay. Went ahead and decided to throw Drew Lock at Atlanta in there as well to kind of add to that question we got. And we could talk about Stafford a little bit. If he plays, what would you do? If he doesn't play, what would you do? So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking overall, you know, on the original question, I'd probably lean Stafford. I like the matchup. I've mentioned in the past that I'm a little worried about Breeze just going forward, and Tampa's proven to be a very good defense, so I don't like the matchup, and I'm not thrilled just overall with this current Breeze that we're getting, right? We know he's a future Hall of Famer, but this year, the weapons he has doesn't look great. So Drew Lock is interesting, right? Saying, you know, if you're rolling Stafford out, Lock is kind of your boom bust guy, I think, while Breeze is, you can kind of view as your high floor, low ceiling, right? You know, you're going to get some volume. I don't think the big plays are there. So I think it really depends on your matchup. I probably slightly would rather gamble with Lock, hoping that the floor is a little higher than I think is anticipated. But, you know, if your matchup says you need a lot of points, Lock would make sense. If you have a pretty safe lead, maybe Breeze makes sense to try to get, you know, just a QB2 out of him, you know, and guarantee that.
If you find out Michael Thomas plays, does that change the equation for you?
I think it has to a degree, right? Michael Thomas is, you know, he's Michael Thomas. You know what you're getting out of him. He's a game changer. I still don't know that it has, you know, a ton of upside, but you likely are going to be able to move the ball a little more consistently with him. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think you'd have to go with Breeze in that scenario just because you're getting one of the best players in the game as one of his weapons if that happens.
Yeah, and I'm really pretty much aligned with you. I thought it was easily Stafford for the matchup against Minnesota, and Breeze not having the easiest matchup in the world. If Stafford doesn't play, I guess I would go with Lock. That's the ultimate answer. I think I'm a little bit iffier than you. I'm not very trusting of him yet, but it does look like he's getting better. He's shaking off a little bit of that rust, and he's improving. So I'm somewhat comfortable with him. I'm okay with him. If you wanted to go with Breeze, I wouldn't hate it, but I personally, would end up going Lock as well. So I think we're pretty aligned there.
All right. Next up, we have a full point PPR running back comparison here. Todd Gurley against the Broncos or Antonio Gibson against the Giants?
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with Gurley here. He's hard to pass up right now. Gibson's looking good, and Gibson could put up a lot of points against the Giants because Giants defense isn't great, but the run defense isn't bad. So, not that a fantastic matchup, not a terrible one either, but it's really hard to pass up Gurley. So I think I would have to go Gurley pretty easily here. What about you?
I think it's a little closer for me. I think they're both tough matchups. Denver has proven to be very stout against the run. But, so is New York. It's tough because I think that they both should be somewhat close games. The one thing that maybe, puts Gibson, over a bit for me is the projected work in the passing game. I know Gurley has gotten some, but I think there's a lot more to go around there. I think Gibson's a little safer of an option. Gurley is definitely your ceiling play. I lean actually Gibson here. But if you need upside from this position, I don't have any problem going Gurley. And I think he's the one that's going to, has a chance for a 2 to 3 touchdown game. Whereas Gibson, you're probably looking more at volume and hoping that he can get in the end zone. But I think I'll lean Gibson slightly here.
Okay, our next one, we're going a little bit deep here at the wide receiver position. PPR, pick 2, Will. Russell Gage versus the Broncos. Danny Amendola at Minnesota, and Keelan Cole versus the Texans.
Man, I have to take a look. I haven't heard Keelan Cole's name in a little while.
I know, right?
What has he been doing here? So, 1 point last week, 1 catch, 12 yards. We got 6 for 143 the week before, 2 for 25 and a touchdown, 4 for 46.
The poster boy for inconsistency, basically.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of that, especially with the new quarterback. But Amendola is going to have a new quarterback as well. I think based on the guys here, I kind of have to lock in Gage. I'm not thrilled about it. But without Ridley, I would imagine, I don't think he's been officially rolled out, but I just can't see him getting in there. I think I'd have to go with Gage just because his quarterback's healthy, and that's something you can't say about the other two. And then let's see, what has Danny Amendola done here in recent weeks? 3 for 54, 3 for 62, 2 for 31. I mean, he's probably the more floor play since he's been consistently getting mid to low single digits in scoring, whereas Keelan Cole is more of the upside. Without Golladay, it opens up targets for Amendola, and likely you're going to have to come back, whereas I don't know how the target distribution is going to go because it seems like all the receivers are healthy. Both are likely going to have good game script. I probably lean Amendola and Gage, I guess, but don't feel great about any of those starts, really.
Yeah, it was a little bit clearer for me when Stafford was playing.
Yeah.
Amendola is good for a couple big games a year. And, with the connection that he has with Stafford against the Minnesota defense, I would be somewhat comfortable playing them. I mean, comfortable in the context of these are the people we're choosing from.
Yeah. And you don't know who's going to be the one without Golladay there.
Exactly. And we don't know, whoever the quarterback's going to be, whether it's David Blau or Chase Daniel, who they're going to favor. It's pretty much the same argument for Keelan Cole. Both are going to have different quarterbacks. Both of them lack upside to a degree, but can have those games. We know they can. So it's tough. I really don't want to go with Gage, even though, don't think Ridley's going to play. But Gage is he's had games where people missing before and he hasn't done anything. So like, I'm really just not interested in starting him at this point, but he makes the most sense out of everyone here. So I guess I'll go with Gage like you, and between the two, I'll take the split like you said. If you need a floor, I'll go with Amendola. If you need upside, I go with Cole. In an absolute vacuum, I'll probably go with Amendola, but not fun picking from this group.
Yeah, it's going to be another interesting one. Maybe not fun either. Next here, a half PPR. We have Marvin Jones now, as we're talking here, likely without Stafford at Minnesota, or a questionable Chris Godwin playing at home for the Saints. But caveat is that is the Sunday night game.
Yeah, another man. All these Lions questions are really have thrown us for a loop here. I think even if Stafford played, I think I'm going with Godwin. Reason being, I think he plays.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've seen kind of time and time again at this point, Lattimore shuts down Evans. And Lattimore's playing, right? He's not hurt.
As far as I know, you also do have to contend with Antonio Brown's first game as well.
I'm not expecting a whole lot from him. And even if you do, like, I think there'll be enough volume to support Godwin and AB. You could support Evans and Godwin. I don't know why you couldn't support Godwin and AB. And I'm just factoring Evans out because Lattimore shuts him down time and time again. So because of that, I'm going with Godwin, and I'm relatively comfortable with that, even if Stafford was playing.
Yeah, I think I'd lean that way as well, especially if you have room to go pick up Scotty Miller or Justin Watson, right? Just so you have a play during the game, in case you are going to wait, or maybe you want to pick up one of the Saints players, or who's the Monday night game this week here? I think it's the Patriots and the Jets. So you probably don't have many people on Monday you'd want to play with the Patriots and the Jets, but
that'll be a great game.
Maybe one of the Saints players, or like I said, a Scotty Miller or a Justin Watson wouldn't be the worst guys to just pick up to have, in your arsenal. If you can't, right, I still probably lean Godwin with just the low upside that's going to be there. I know something about me feels like Detroit still was semi-successful, from a fantasy standpoint, passing the ball. Even if they weren't getting in the end zone, there were some yardage to go around last year. Well, Stafford was hurt, but it's just a little bit of a risk. If Stafford comes in, he's good. It becomes closer. But I just don't know that I can pass up Godwin here. I think all the stars have to align, where it's looking like he's not going to play and Matt Stafford's playing. Right in that scenario, I don't mind going Marvin Jones, but probably leaning Godwin if everything isn't pointing in the right direction for Jones.
It's funny you mentioned the Monday night game and potentially not having a lot of people go. I think after this next question, almost every question from here on out has a player from that game in it. So we're definitely going to be talking about him soon. But before we get to that, the one that what a early question at the beginning of the season, you have Josh Allen versus Seattle, or Justin Herbert versus the Chargers. So Allen kind of cooling down, but has a great matchup. Herbert absolutely on fire right now. Who are you taking there?
Yeah, I'm staying in the flames with Herbert. I have him in one league. I'm looking for a Week 10 alternative because he is going up against Miami in Week 10, and they are just lighting the world on fire. So I think I have to stay there with Herbert. Got to give him another week to either play in the way the defense. The Chargers defense has been playing. You're gonna likely give up some points, and you're gonna have to throw the whole game. Now, Allen, this is the perfect matchup. When it comes to game script, because you're likely going to be in a shootout with Seattle. So you'd love to be a part of that. But he just hasn't been great the last few games. I think he's been in below 20 points in, 3 or 4 weeks in a row now. I am going to wait until I see it. I know the next 2 games here against Seattle and Arizona are appetizing than the bye. But if I still have an option of going with Herbert in a good matchup against Vegas, I'm going to roll with Herbert.
Yeah, I'm glad you corrected me because I definitely said Herbert versus Chargers.
You did.
So good call playing the Raiders there. And I'm with you. I'll stay with the hot streak that is Herbert. It's just kind of hard to turn away. It'd be one thing if he had a tough defense. We've seen him put up points against tough defenses in the past, but I mean, Allen against Seattle would probably be too hard to pass up if Herbert had a tougher matchup. But against the Raiders, I can't turn that down, man. I'll take the shot with Herbert.
Right. Got a big one here. PPR. We have Jakobi Meyers against the Jets. We have Danny Amendola once again against the Vikings. We have both Laviska Shenault and Keelan Cole, wide receiver for the Jaguars against the Texans. And Jerick McKinnon against Green Bay, potentially on Thursday. There were reports here that the Niners had to shut down their facility, but I hear that Green Bay is still flying out tonight regardless, and they're anticipating they're going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, Kendrick Bourne had the positive test, but yeah, that's what I've heard too, is that the game is looking to be played. So we'll see. This is another one that is different because of Stafford. Amendola is impacted. I like Amendola a lot more in this situation with Stafford there, but with Stafford up in the air, I'm not a big fan of that when you have some other options here. Shenault is just as inconsistent as Keelan Cole. I mean, it's pretty much pick your poison with either of them, and I will choose neither. So it comes down to McKinnon or Jakobi Meyers. Jakobi Meyers, I might be looking to start in our work league here, Will. I got a handful of buys, and he's available, so I might have to take my shot there. Not a bad shot to take against the Jets, but I'd be stacking him and Cam, and that's worrisome. But that aside, he's not a bad play. He's got a good matchup. He's beginning the targets with Edelman and Harry out. So that could be a good play. And then, you have McKinnon against Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen with McKinnon? I have no idea. So I think I'd go with Myers. It's risky, but it's not like McKinnon's a safe bet either. His usage is all over the place. It's a Thursday night game. I just rather not. I'll trust Jakobi Meyers. It terrifies me, but that's the way I'm going to lean. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of getting to the same route you did, ruling out, if I can, Amendola and Cole and Shenault to a degree as well, just because for the Texans and the Jaguars game, I mean, I have no clue what this 6th-round rookie is going to do. And while we saw last year a 4th or 5th-round rookie turn it on for the Jaguars and Minshew, I'm not going to bank on lightning striking twice, so I'm going to wait on really any of their weapons. I have to play Keelan Cole, or I'm sorry, the number 1 receiver there. Why am I blanking on his name?
Chark,
yeah. And I'm not thrilled about that, but he is the number 1 there. Oh, I do see you actually just picked up Jakobi Meyers, Steve.
Yeah.
Showing your hand there.
I did. I figure, you know what? It's just MVS I'm dropping, so it's not like it's some grand loss. So, yeah, I want to grab him up.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's Myers or McKinnon, and I just don't know about those passing options. I know they just traded for, a Ford, I think, out of Miami to go to New England. Edelman's not out, but I just don't know who to count on in that offense. So I'm going to take a shot on McKinnon because I'm confident one of the running backs in San Francisco is going to have a good game, and hopefully it's him. Maybe it's Hasty. We'll see. But I'm going to go McKinnon here.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Speak of the Hasty, half-point PPR, Hasty versus the Packers or Damian Harris against the Jets?
I haven't really seen a ton of the Patriots and the way the running game has been distributed. You have Harris in the league, do you not?
Well, the story of Damian Harris. No, I don't. So I drafted him in our work league. I dropped him when he went on the IR. I picked him up before he returned, and then I dropped him when Cam went on the COVID lists because our IRs weren't set up yet, and I was impatient.
Yeah.
So I do not have Damian Harris. I have been watching him a little bit, and it's kind of up and down. He had a really good week last week against Buffalo, over 100 yards and a touchdown. The week before that, I think he was over 50 yards, but the week before that was like nothing. I don't even think he cracked 30 yards. And And then at some point, maybe like the first week back, he cracked 100 again. So
Okay.
again, not the model of consistency. I mean, it's kind of your typical Patriots backfield story, right? Like no one's really that consistent there outside of James White when Tom Brady's there. It's just kind of up and down.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends who else is playing. I don't think Sony is back this week. So the volume in the game script makes sense for Harris. He's probably the play here. If you want to take your shot on, another good matchup and see if Hasty's the guy there, I would not put it past you. I think the safer play is probably just roll with Damien Harris and hope that Patriots crush him and he's running the ball a ton.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's the same reasoning. I talked to McKinnon. I don't trust Hasty. He could have a great game. I don't know. I don't have any trust there. Where with Damien Harris, I don't trust him fully either, but I trust him a little bit more. And the matchup's amazing. So I think it's a great game for him. I think it's a good game where you can utilize him a lot and try to limit what Cam's doing to a degree and maybe try to build Cam up slowly again. So I will go with Damien Harris as well. It's really not that close for me. I really just don't trust what's going on in San Francisco.
All right. Next up, we have full point PPR. We have James White against the aforementioned Jets and Joshua Kelly against the Raiders.
And I told you there was a lot of these Jets questions.
Yeah, they're endless.
Yeah, they are. I think I'm going with James White here too. Another situation of I don't trust him because of how's Cam's playing, but I'd imagine he's going to bounce back from last week. And Josh Kelly is just getting outplayed by Justin Jackson. So, it could be a good week for Kelly, but it'll cost to be just a 50-50 split or worse. And, it's a Justin Jackson show. So I'll go with James White there, but I don't mind either. It's not like it's, White's blowing Kelly out of the water for me because I just don't see the upside in White. But I will go with White personally. What about you?
Tough. I'm not thrilled about either of these options here. I mean, PPR helps White a little more. Obviously, that's his specialty and really the type of league that you want to have him in. Josh Kelly just seems like he's really lost it the last few weeks, and they're leaning on Justin Jackson more. Even, I don't know what his first name is, but last name Pope, running back, has been getting involved. I'm just not thrilled about that. You know that there's a role for James White. You just hope that the game script allows that to be available more. So I think neither really have a ton of a ceiling unless you're hoping Kelly gets in the end zone. But I'll take James White and really not be thrilled about either option.
Fair enough. We will venture outside of the Patriots-Jets game for this next one here. I know. Big step. We got standard scoring. Corey Davis versus the Bears or Brandon Cooks at Jacksonville.
Yeah, this is interesting. I've heard a lot of people clamoring about Brandon Cooks. Brandon Brooks is an offensive guard for the Eagles who's not playing this year. Wow. Brandon Cooks. It's a great matchup, and the worry is if he doesn't get it early, are they crushing him since you had the 6th round pick in there? Corey Davis playing well, has got even last week I think he outperformed Antonio or AJ Brown. I just don't know when that shoe's going to drop and AJ Brown steps back up, and I think I have to lean Brandon Cooks here, but I'm just not sure. I just don't know that we can trust that it's still happening with Davis. But he has looked good. He's got a ton of targets the last 2 weeks. Tough matchup against Chicago, though. Maybe this ends up just being a lower score, grinded out game, whereas I think there's a higher potential for a bigger passing game with Houston against Jacksonville. I'm just not sure. Looks like breaking news here, though. Adam Schefter tweets out that Jimmy G is officially done for the season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Why bother?
Yeah, I mean, season's almost over, but interesting that it's officially out.
Yeah, so now you have to question, is this the last we've seen of Jimmy G in San Francisco? Because I think I told you the other day his dead cap hits like $2.5 million, not a lot. You have some teams like I've thrown out the Falcons with Matt Ryan
Mhm.
and the Vikings with Kirk Cousins. Both have history with Shanahan. I'd imagine you could get both if you really wanted to. So
Yeah.
we will see. Moving on, though, I do agree with you. It would be Brandon Cooks for me, just given the matchup. I think it's going to be easier to put up points against Jacksonville than the Titans will have against the Bears.
Mhm.
Like you said, I can see that game kind of being a slow, grinded out kind of a game. Corey Davis could always pop off. You just need a touchdown, and he's certainly capable of doing it. But I'll lean on Cooks here as well.
All right. And our last matchup here, quarterback Derek Carr against the Chargers or Cam Newton against the Jets.
This one I don't like because I feel like I would go Cam Newton because of the matchup, but I feel like I'm still being, still somewhat being influenced by the first couple weeks.
Mm.
David Carr, that game could be a shootout, given the defenses on both sides. He could
David
put up
Carr's
a lot of points.
playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's a callback to, whatever, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Derek Carr. So what makes this difficult now is I'm going to go into our league because I just said I got to start Cam. Derek Carr is available. Would I drop Cam for David Carr? Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's don't like this.
Really putting yourself in the listener's shoes here. Steve.
Yeah, like what would I actually do? Like, oh man, David Carr, Cam Newton. I think I lean Cam. As scary as it is, it's the Jets, man. I mean, yeah, it's the Jets. I mean, they don't have any weapons, but you got to think you'd be able to run a little bit with the Jets. So I think I'm going to stick with Cam. We'll have to keep everybody updated if I decide to change my mind between now and Sunday.
Steve will be live tweeting his thoughts on the quarterback situation for our work league.
For these two, right? Yeah, so maybe you could convince me. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty easily on Derek Carr, I think. I just, ever since we traded for Cam, I think we maybe spoiled him in our in our Run Dynasty League. I love Derek Carr, the way he's been playing the last few weeks. Last week, obviously, I think you got to throw out. I was ready to play him and pivoted Sunday morning with the weather being the way it was. But outside of last week, he's been over 20 points or more, 3 straight weeks with the bye week in there. That was against Kansas City and Tampa as well. So he's looked good against bad defenses or good defenses. So he now has a really good matchup with the Chargers. As much as I like Herbert, I like Carr. I think this is a matchup where there's going to be a lot of points scored and hopefully a lot of it through the air. So I'm going to go Derek Carr pretty easily here.
Okay, that works. Will, I am going to throw a bit of a bonus question at you.
Ooh.
As I've been perusing our work league, because it's come up a few times in our conversations here today. Would you rather start the New York Giants defense at Washington or Arizona versus Miami?
I think I lean Arizona. Arizona and Washington are kind of two of the not great defensive teams that you imagine that I like the matchups with. I mean, the Giants just turned the ball over so much, and Washington is a great defensive front, even if their secondary isn't great. So you imagine that you have a good chance of a lot of sacks. I'm not thrilled about the Giants just defensively. Like, they have a stout run D, but fantasy-wise, they're probably not going to get a ton of sacks, so you're banking on a turnover or two. On the contrary, Tua didn't look as good as I feel like you would imagine if you just are watching the game or not watching the game and just see the box score. He looked okay. He had a touchdown, but his stats weren't great. And now Myles Gaskin's injured. So I think as much as Arizona's defense isn't, they've got talent, but they're just maybe still developing a lot of younger players. I like the matchup there. I think with the big lopsided win against against the Rams last week for the Dolphins, not enough of the credit is going to that defense because their defense is playing great right now. And that's part of the reason why I'm trying to find a quarterback for next week, because I think that's when the shoe drops for Herbert and he has, that one bad game. So long story short, I would go with the Cardinals.
Okay, I picked them up.
I saw that as
good
I was
enough.
talking.
Good enough for me. So let's blow through some trade questions here. Well, Dynasty 16 team PPR, Chase Edmonds or Mecole Hardman?
I'll take Edmonds. I mean, especially if you're looking to compete now. Hardman's nice depth, but Edmonds is going to give you probably a week or two here at least of, bona fide RB1 potential as the only guy there. And then if he looks great for 2 weeks, even when Drake comes back, maybe he's the 1A and Drake's the 1B, if not, better.
Yeah, I agree. It's Edmonds for me. Dynasty league, long term, it could be Chase. It's also a 16 team league, and your running back position is just more important from a depth perspective. So, yeah, pretty easily Edmonds on that front. Next one, Will, Dynasty half point PPR super flex. Pretty interesting one here. A late first and Will Fuller or Juju?
Yeah, it's interesting, especially with Fuller going to be a free agent this year. I mean, he still has decent value the way he's been playing this year, but I imagine he gets the bag somewhere and he's going to be paid. If he gets to a good situation, I mean, he could be right there with Juju the way that, you're anticipating. I think rest of 2020, definitely the Fuller pick side. I mean, if you're all in on Juju's talent overall, hoping that he finds his way to the better team, I could see it, but I'll take the first and Fuller, I think.
Yeah, I'm on the same side. I'll take the first and Fuller. I may turn around and try to trade both of them for something else. But yeah, I'm more on that side. I just don't know what to make of Juju. This year and moving forward, it's tough. I'm not the biggest Fuller guy. The talent's there, but he's hurt all the time. And a late first is still late, but yeah, I'll lead with that side. I probably try to take my winnings and flip them for something else.
Yeah, cash out. So next up we have redraft, 14 team PPR, Joe Mixon and T. Higgins, so 2 Bengals, for Kenyon Drake and Fulgham.
I don't see a lot of reason to pull the trigger on this if I'm the one getting the Drake side. Like, I'll take I'll take Mixon over Drake, and I'll take Higgins over Fulgham.
I mean, you can make the argument with Fulgham and Higgins, but I don't think it's anywhere near the Mixon Drake difference.
Yeah, like if you're gonna, I'm perfectly fine with you wanting Fulgham over Higgins, but you do need to recognize the difference isn't that great compared to the Mixon and Drake side. So yeah, it's pretty easily Mixon and Drake. Unless, and it's redraft, I guess you can make the case that the reports are that, Drake's injury wasn't as bad as what they originally thought. So maybe he's back this week and maybe Mixon's out a few more weeks. Maybe that's the argument you make. And I just need a running back. In which case, I get it, but it's not like Drake was setting the world on fire before anyway. But I would understand it from that context. We just don't know.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll take the Mixon and Higgins side. I mean, I love the way Fulgham's playing, but as people start getting healthier, maybe the targets aren't there as much. And it's just, even if you like him that much more than Higgins in redraft, I still bank on Mixon, over Drake rest of the season.
Okay, and our next one, another redraft. We got a keeper league here. Well, PPR, Aaron Jones, who cannot be kept, or James Robinson, who can be kept for a 12th round pick.
Yeah, that's interesting because, thinking about the future, it's definitely important here in a keeper league. And, James Robinson, I just don't know what the value is long term, right? This year, he seems to be the guy. But they could easily go sign someone next year and kind of ruin his value. I mean, 12th round's still nice. Whereas Aaron Jones, you're not going to be able to keep him, and I don't know what the rest of your team looks like. So if there's, another guy that I would rather keep over Robinson, for comparable, to be able to have Aaron Jones this season, I think it makes sense. You also factor in the injury to Jones, maybe not playing again this week. And then the injury to James Robinson's quarterback, right? That team is not going to be nearly as good and effectively moving the ball to give Robinson the opportunities that he's seen. All that being said, you can make an argument that, Robinson for a 12th is a good keep, but I don't think that's enough with there's uncertainty of the offseason and, just what I believe Aaron Jones has potential to continue the rest of the season. So I'll take Aaron Jones fairly easily.
Yeah, I think I'm actually on the opposite side.
Oh, yeah?
I don't hate it. And, maybe it's that gambling mentality that's kind of coming out. But I think I'll take my shot with James Robinson for the 12th. I mean, the way I see it, there's a lot of question marks going on in Jacksonville. There's a lot of problems you need to fix in Jacksonville. But the one issue I don't think you need to fix is the running back position. I feel like James Robinson, Chark, Shenault, they're all pretty secure in their role. Like, I just don't see the benefit of them going out and doing anything at the running back position outside of, maybe adding a backup or something because, we haven't seen Armstead and Chris Thompson isn't lighting the world on fire or something. I can see them adding somebody, but why would you raise a draft pick on him when you need draft picks everywhere else on the team? Why would you go out and get a high priced free agent? I don't know who would be out there. I think was this Joe Mixon's free agent year? I know he signed a contract, but like if he was out there, why would you go get him? Because you're not competing really.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I could see them drafting someone though, like a second or third rounder, and
I think it would be later. Like if I was Jacksonville, and what do I know? If I'm Jacksonville and I have a second round pick, I'm not buying a wide receiver. I'm getting someone on defense, offensive line, something like that. I don't want a running back really, but it's a gamble. I definitely recognize it's a gamble. I see the other side of that. The running back that they bring in the draft doesn't need to be a second rounder to be relevant. They could bring in a third or fourth round guy and it end up being, an RBBC and then James Robinson's ruined. But I'd roll the dice that I can get a starting running back for a 12th round pick. I mean, that's a league winning move right there.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely will set you up, big. It's just, it's tough. I mean, especially not knowing what the rest of his team looks like, right? If he has 4 keepers and there's guys that are on that same James Robinson level, I'd rather have Aaron Jones for the rest of the season.
Yep, that's fair. And our last question, Will, it's a big one. Redraft PPR. Tyler Lockett, Darrell Henderson, Jarvis Landry, and Dallas Goedert. Or Mike Evans, Antonio Gibson, and Hunter Henry.
Interesting, yeah. I think I lean the first side. Right, Goddard and Henry. Henry's pretty consistent, but I think when Goddard gets healthy through this bye week, I think they tried to ease him in. I think Goddard's on that level, and then Gibson and Henderson is close. I like Henderson a little better, but Lockett just seems to be, locked in. It's either him or DK, so it's back and forth, right? Sometimes they both have big games. Sometimes just one of them. But I'm worried about Evans, the way he's just been playing and the connection they've had on top of Gronk coming along and AB getting back. Like last week, he had no competition really, and he still couldn't get it going. So worried about Evans. So the Lockett Landry side, is I think a bonus over that. So I think overall I'm taking that first side.
Yeah, I'm taking it as well, and pretty easily. And it's kind of like the conversation you just had. Like I'll take Lockett over Evans, but for the sake of argument, say they're close. They're pretty even. That's fine. Henderson and Gibson, to me, they're pretty even. That's fine. Goddard and Hunter Henry, to me, pretty even. That's just fine. So I'll take a free Landry. That's the way I look at it. There's one player in here that shouldn't be in here. If you take Landry out, it's more interesting.
Fairly
but
even. Yeah,
you put him in there, and the trade doesn't make sense anymore. So I will go with the Landry side, or I guess more so the Lockett side, pretty easily for all the reasons you mentioned.
All right, so I think that wraps us up here. Good luck, everyone, in your matchups here in Week 9. Keep an eye on tomorrow's game and Matt Stafford, and keep an eye on the world. Hopefully, next time we talk to you guys, we are in better shape here as a world, and
or we have an answer.
We have an answer, which probably won't be. We'll see with a couple states still counting, but hopefully by next week we will be in good shape.
Yeah, we will see. Good luck, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Until next week, trust your board.